haven't posted it yet because it was like bad audio. It was kind of poor sounding. I did it at Shanti, and there was like a lot of people around, so it was kind of like, you know, um, a lot of noise pollution, background noise, stuff like that. But right now, I'm just going to go ahead and do your monthly for the month of September, your first, and then I'm going to go ahead and do Aquarius, and then after that it's going to be Libra, and maybe Gemini after that. So I'm doing like Virgo and all of the air signs, and then some of the signs that are Mercury rule. Council Chief, you got the Emperor. Okay, so this is about the self. I'm going to go ahead and put that down, and then I'm just going to go ahead and shuffle it one more time. And then I'll kind of get into like what all the meanings and the placements are once I play them all out. I don't want to talk about that one too soon because it's kind of like a future card for you. And I'm going to try to keep this pretty short, or short enough, right? Because they usually are longer than I want them to be. Okay, so there's some hidden things in terms of like what you're wishing for and what you feel like you need to cleanse yourself of energetically. Right? But that's just kind of like one of those inner things. So you guys probably need to do a little bit of meditation. Okay, this is wonderful. All right, let me go ahead and lay the rest of them out. Okay. So I'm using the Native American Tarot deck because it's kind of earthy, and I think it's just really perfect for you guys. So at the bottom of the deck, you got the Corn Maiden, and this is really the High Priestess. So this is talking about your intuition, and this is also talking about making choices based on your gut influences, right? What is your gut telling you, and what lines are you drawing to sort of like make sense of what is happening here? This is Neptune, and Neptune does talk about, illusion, and it also talks about discontentment from the illusion, right, or the disillusionment. It is also talking about ideals, right, in sharing and communicating. So you might be looking for the ideal situation. You might be feeling like a situation may not be for you because it doesn't feel ideal, and you might be feeling like you might be sacrificing something, or you might be submitting to something as well. This does have to do with a belief system, and it also does have to do with, what you have. You know what I mean? It's almost like you don't feel like you have what you deserve almost, and you might be feeling like you're just kind of like taking from all of the experiences that you have had, and you're kind of like pulling everything together in this sort of like amalgamation of a feeling, and you're going off of that, which is your gut, which is your belly, right? And this is also just talking about your confidence as well. You might be feeling sensitive in terms of like what you're able to create, how creatively driven you might be feeling. This is a very good card in terms of like, things changing. Because it is mutable, and it is Neptune, and Neptune is a very watery. So this is saying go with the flow, right? Try not to let your emotions get the best of you, but try to use them in the best way that you can, right? Because it's like the second house is Taurus, and that's talking about what I have, and you do have your intuition, and you do have your gut feelings about things that they usually don't lead you astray, okay? So I would definitely say trust yourself. There's some opportunity here that you could take advantage of, even within the confusion, and then that's going to sort of like bring you into a place of feeling more balanced because this is a 2, and then it's also talking about the harmony between two ideas, like the head and the heart, you know what I mean? It's kind of like that thing. So yeah, this is the coming together of two energies to make sense of what is happening, like beyond what you can understand. Okay, so it is talking about making connections and things like that. So at the center of the reading, you got the 3 of Swords. So this is Saturn in Libra, and Saturn is, the planet of time and structures and restrictions, right? So you might be feeling restricted in a relationship, or you might be feeling restricted within a contract, or something that you understood was going to be a certain way, because the threes do talk about structures that go unchanged or uncontaminated or unsort of like influenced, right? There's a safe space, so you may have felt safe within a space, right, in your mind, but now there have been some harsh truths that have come about that have sort of like made you feel like not as safe, you know what I mean? And it really is just like your mental state isn't safe where you are. So, or, you know, maybe that's in the past, you know what I mean, because it is Saturn. But whatever it is, it's just saying that your mental state might be in a little bit of a frenzy because of some harsh truths that you may have discovered or that may have come about. Libra is talking about relationships, and it is also talking about reflection. The threes are related to the Empress, so it really is still tied to the High Priestess in a way, where, you know, it's talking about your intuition, right? So this feeling, this gut feeling that you have may be formulating something in your mind that actually might be starting to come into its own truth, right? Because it is Libra, it is Swords, it is Saturn, and Saturn is a karmic teacher. So you might be learning a lesson that you felt like you probably didn't want to learn, or you might be learning a lesson that is just kind of making you feel, you know, harsh. This does talk about third-party relationships, so this could be talking about, like, you know, maybe there being a partnership or some kind of business deal, and maybe someone got someone else involved, and that's kind of like what turned it into a third-party thing. And this does talk about secrets too with the threes, because generally, traditionally, you know, the Empress, the third major arcana card, is sort of pregnant. So there are some things that are hidden there, and there are some secrets. So there could have been some secret opinions about you, or some secret opinions about the relationship that you share, or, you know, this could just be someone's opinion about the work that you do, right? You know what I mean? Because Saturn is talking about work. The challenge here with this is the One of Pipes, the Ace of Pipes. So this new reality that you're facing, this new reality that you are understanding yourself to be in that isn't changing, is going to bring about a way for you to kind of like, it's kind of like a strike of a match or something like that, right? It's going to kind of light this fire in you that's going to make you more aware of who you are and what your purpose is, okay? Because you're no longer going to be thinking about how you might be attached you know, to this person or to this energy or to this institution that has made this change possible for you. You know, it does have a negative connotation with the Three of Swords or with the Three of Blades, but then the Ace of Pipes is here saying that the challenge is that you can't kind of like really see where this new beginning is coming from, but it actually really is happening. You know what I mean? And it is your season. This is your first house for those of you, especially if you're a Virgo rising. You know what I mean? This is an opportunity for you to use this energy with the sun being in your house. You know, it's in the early stages, so, you know, you have a whole, like, 30 days or whatever to let this energy sort of, like, evolve for you. You know, it's not just your birthday, it's like your whole season, you know, Virgo season. Virgo is esoterically ruled by the moon, right? So this is saying that there really are some things that you know and that you feel that really are making you feel a little bit intimidated, because the feeling might be overwhelming, right? The acknowledgement of the feeling is kind of like calling or screaming out to you. So it's saying that you're feeling challenged by an action. This could have something to do with, you know, an event or something that you might be wanting to plan, or it could have something to do with a creative idea that you feel like is not being supported. You know what I mean? Definitely. So let me go ahead and look at your past. So in your past, you have the Six of Wands. So you may have left a job, right? Or you may have left like some kind of norm, right? So you moved away from a norm. Maybe you kind of like broke out of, you know, your traditional or your conservative ways of thinking, right? Outside the box, because this six here is related to you, right? Mercury rules the sixth house, which is Virgo, and Mercury is also exalted in Aquarius, right? And this is Mercury in Aquarius. So this is saying, like, definitely think outside of the box, you know what I mean? You kind of like we're going into some new concepts, right? Moving away from old concepts and going into the new concepts. And I feel like you may have felt like that was something that you experienced in the past, going from the old to the new, for sure. So this is suggesting that you might be changing something in your daily life might be changing, and it's the change and it's the instability because it is blades, right? It's kind of like the mind is always going, it's very active. This is active change. You see what I mean? So it's not like the change is going to kind of like stop the energy. It's just going to kind of like sail you smoothly into the next energy. You know what I mean? And then what else are we dealing with here? Let me just go ahead and flip over your sun. In your sun position, you have the Five of Cups, which is the warrior woman. This is Mars and Scorpio, okay? And Mars is talking about aggression, and it's also talking about, your primal energy. This sun position is saying that you're feeling at a loss of something, right? It's almost like the belief in oneself and what you're able to accomplish without something that you felt like you had in your grip or you had like under control, right? This is kind of like the realization that everything is not under your control, right? Or you may not have everything under control emotionally, because the fives are talking about conflicts and challenges that we face that actually test us and, give us a sense of purpose, right? Because we do need challenges that are going to give us a sense of purpose. And sometimes the challenges might be emotional, sometimes they might be financial, sometimes they might be mental or psychological, and sometimes they might just be, action. Like, what are we might be feeling that competitive energy. This is kind of like making you feel like less than yourself, you know what I mean? Because the Five of Cups is talking about, loss in a way that makes you forget who you are or who you were before you had that thing that you lost. You know what I mean? Because when we break things or when we lose people or when we kind of like lose opportunities or we lose chances, right? We feel like something was taken away from us, right? And because it was out of our control, right? And that's really what we feel. It's not the fact that the thing happened. It's because we didn't have any control to either stop it or like decide whether or not it was actually something that we wanted or not, right? And that's what life does to us. It gives us things that we didn't ask for, right? Because if we only got what we asked for, then how would we develop? So this is talking about you developing emotionally out of this feeling of loss or out of this reality, that might be affecting you in a heavy way emotionally. Scorpio is talking about transformation. You may have even experienced a death. This could have been a friend, right? Because it's the Five of Cups, and the fifth house is Leo, and that's talking about friendship. It's also talking about romance. You know what I mean? So maybe you feel like the romance has been lost in a relationship, or you may have lost someone, right? It could be that as well. The fives do talk about comfort levels and allowing things to get too comfortable, and that's why the fives actually are that challenge for us, because you were comfortable in a feeling, right? You were comfortable within a feeling that you had about an institution or about a job or a place that you might have been comfortable, right? You may have been set in your emotions because this is fixed. This could even be talking about your feelings not changing about something, and it's not like a good feeling that isn't changing. You know what I mean? This is kind of like feeling resentment. It could be jealousy, right? People might be jealous of you. They might resent you, or you might resent someone or the energy that they bring within, an environment or to an environment. It could be that thing too for some of you. Let me flip over some more cards because I don't want to talk about that one for too much. In your moon position, you got the Maiden of Blades, and this is the Page of Swords. And the Page of Swords is talking about, intellect. And it's talking about, maybe having a sharp tongue, or this could be like speaking out of turn about something, or maybe you had spoken about something that you didn't have all of the knowledge about, or maybe someone said something in an immature way that may have affected you emotionally. Because the Maiden of Blades, she kind of like is the bringer of messages, and she's like the person that asks a lot of questions. She's very energetic, but in a very youthful way. It's kind of like the person that always asks why, or the person that always challenges, a comment or a statement or something like that. This is also your creativity needing to be challenged, and you need to express your creativity through what it is that you are feeling inside, right? Because this is the moon position, and this is the Maiden of Blades does talk about change as well. Changes of phases changing in your life. So this could also have to do with work, maybe new ideas or fresh ideas, or maybe you might be changing your idea about like how you see yourself at your job. You know what I mean? This could even be feeling like you're not really in a position to grow, right? Actually, this is growth, but this is kind of like you needing to change your idea of the path that you thought you were on, right, for you to experience this growth or whatever, this emotional evolution or whatever this is that you're feeling. Um, this is kind of like a whippersnapper energy. You don't want your emotions to get in the way of your creativity, and you don't want, yeah, this is also truths as well. There might be some new truths that you might be facing, right? This could also represent a person. They could be a Gemini, a Libra, or an Aquarius, okay? That might be in your life, or that might be sparking some new emotions or some new feelings. The moon also does have to do with work and career and home. So you might be wanting to change homes, right? You might be having the new idea sort of like spark up in your head, come up in your head about change in terms of your home. Anyway, let's look at your anxieties. And in your anxieties, wow, this is a good card, but this is the Ten of Cups, and the anxiety, this is like, is this Sun in Pisces? No, it's Mars in Pisces, okay? So Mars in Pisces is talking about, submitting to a feeling, or, maybe there's a sacrifice that you might be needing to make, right? Or identifying with with something completing itself, and you making a sacrifice, right? Because this phase has changed, right? After the tens comes the maidens or the pages, and you definitely have, the moon is related to the anxieties in the spread. So, the moon, you're feeling about the change, right? The phases, or the phase changing, but then you have anxieties that, you may not, that you're just sensitive to it, right? It's kind of like being emotionally reactive. This is also kind of like feeling emotionally exhausted and maybe wanting to give up, you know what I mean, on something or with something. But this is saying don't give up. Actually, you can change the way that you look at it, or it's almost kind of like the point where you felt like you wanted to give up was actually the point where you were just going to have to finish it out. It's kind of like when you step out of the line, and it's like then the line begins to move faster, and you're like, fuck, I stepped out of the line. You know what I mean? It's like that type of thing. So don't let this anxiety or, overwhelming feeling in terms of your growth in your career and what it might be opening up for you. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you're kind of seeing the light at the top of the mountain, right? Or you're kind of like seeing, it's almost like you've gotten to the point where you can now turn back, or you can now turn around, or you can now leave that anxiety where it is and now step into your reality instead of into your anxieties. You know what I mean? So your reality is saying that there's a new beginning for you that you are going to open up to emotionally, right? It's going to kind of like cleanse you emotionally. And, Mars doesn't seem like it would be well aspected in Pisces, but it is. This is kind of like that feeling of being rescued. I feel like something is going to come in and feel like it's like rescuing you as a surprise, right? Because it's a 10, so that's Jupiter, right? And then the 10th house is Capricorn, and that's work. Jupiter is opportunity, and it's also luck. So there's something that might show itself to you in the form of a career opportunity, and you may just feel lucky because of that, Virgo. So now in your Mars position, you got 4 of Wands, which is honor, and that's completion, that's success, that's something coming together. That's Venus in Aries, right? And Venus is kind of like debilitated in Aries, but because this is it's a 4, and it's in the Mars position, and it's an Aries card, this is some good energy right here. So they're saying, identify with yourself and what's going to bring you more harmony and what's going to make you feel more complete. And then you will get your just due. You know what I mean? Because it is a 4, and the 4s talk about foundations and security. You know what I mean? You can kind of like find your security for yourself that you would like to see or feel through your actions, right? It's kind of like do what you know you need to do to make yourself feel better about your situation. You know what I mean? Like, this is not waiting for anybody else to do it. Or this being that it's Venus and Aries, it's kind of like two energies coming together to celebrate something. So somebody's going to like what you're doing, right? The 10 is Capricorn, the 4 is Cancer, but it's also Aries, and, so this also has to do with, like, just, execution of something. And Capricorn is the initiator. You know what I mean? And that energy is trining you right now with Saturn and Pluto, as well as trining the energy of Uranus being in Taurus. So those are all of the three Earth signs with planets in them. So there's some stuff that's happening. Uh, Pluto is retrograde, and so is Saturn. But they're about to go direct, like at the end of September or the end of October or something like that. So you're gonna start to see these things develop for you and sort of open up, right? And you're gonna feel like, ready. You're gonna feel fit to act upon this opportunity, or to take advantage of it. So in your Venus position, you got the craftsman. And this is actually Mars and Capricorn. And I just made all that talk about Capricorn and Saturn and Pluto being there. And, this 3 is talking about multiplicity, okay? It's talking about doing the job well and then actually being paid well for it. But the 3s are kind of very magical, right? They're kind of like, it's that Trinity type of energy. So it's harmony. And I did talk about a trine in the Earth signs before flipping that card over. And this is the 3 of Earth. So, like, you can just imagine, or you can just take what I said before flipping over this card as this card saying, yes, that is what's going to happen, or that is it, right? Because the 3s are related to the Empress, which is Venus. And the card that we got right before this was Venus and Aries, okay? And then this card is a 3, which is still related to Venus, but then it's a pentacle. So it can be Taurus, it can be Virgo, or it can be Capricorn. It is Capricorn, right? So it's putting energy into the work. It's putting energy into the career. Something is going to come in and sort of like infuse something or initiate, right? Because we did talk about the 10th house being the house of initiative or initiation, right? It's responsibility, and it's actually, energy and effort that is put into the responsibility, because it's sort of like innate for you, right? Initiative, innate, they're kind of related. So yeah, this is kind of like you getting your just due based on like the initiative that you've taken towards your work and towards your creativity in your work, right? And being able to get it out there, right? There's communication here too, by this being a 3. It's related to the 3rd house of Gemini. So it's like, how is social media? You know what I mean? You did get an Aquarius card here, and Mercury in Aquarius is talking about social media. So you might be revamping some aspect of your social media presence, right? As someone told me to do. I didn't really take it quite well because this person was just basically giving me their ideas. But, and I don't really like anyone else's ideas because I think that mine are great. That's not necessarily true. I like other people's ideas. I just don't like other people placing their ideas upon me to sort of execute them. I'm like, you do that. But anyway, social media, Aquarius rules that it's getting information and getting things out there to everybody, the masses, so that we can all benefit from the same thing, because we really are all one, right? Okay, so all of your cards have been flipped over except for the future cards. So we have the future, the outcome, the energy moving forward, right? Which is the same card for me. And then we have your rising, your ascending, which is the energy that you're stepping into that's going to bring you onto a higher plane. Like, if it's a negative card, then that just means that something is going to, be testing you or sort of forcing itself upon this change happening or upon you stepping into this energy. But let's just look at it. Let's look at what your cards are. Oh, damn. This is good. This should have been your birthday reading. This kind of makes up for the bad audio in the birthday reading, right, Virgo? Both of my sisters are Virgos, and I have Mars and Mercury in Virgo. But I don't think about myself when I'm reading these because I have to stay very objective, and I listen to them afterwards, and sometimes I'm very shocked at what I hear. Okay, so at the end of the reading, in terms of like the energy moving forward, you got the World. So this is like completion. It's graduation. It's mastery, right? And, it's so crazy, but esoterically, the Earth rules Sagittarius, right? And the World is basically representative of that energy. It is a 3, which is kind of like reflecting the energy of the sign that's opposing Sagittarius, which is Gemini, which is the 3rd house, but that's multiplicity, okay? So it's kind of like this graduation is going to bring about the multiplicity. You see what I mean? So, with the world card, it's saying that you're moving on. There's sort of like there's like what do we call, I don't know. When I'm reading, sometimes I can't think of words. There's an evolution for sure. There might be some travel involved. You're going to be experiencing an upgrade, an enhancement in terms of some things. You're going to be leaving behind one aspect of your reality and going into the next. And that's what the world card talks about. I didn't even flip over any of these cards for you. So this is the world, right? Leaving one aspect of reality and going into the next. And it's also talking about travel. It's talking about embodying something too, and some things really coming together, right? So that you can appreciate them. Three of Pentacles, right? Those three earth signs. This is the work, right? It's Capricorn, and the world rules Capricorn. Here we go with an Aries card, right? Mars actually is exalted in Capricorn, but it rules Aries. Then you got Mars in Pisces. Mars is, the ruler of Aries, like I said, but it's exalted in Capricorn. But this is a 10. Capricorn is the 10th house, 10 of Cups. It really is talking about your career and your work. Okay, and in the future, you got Vision Quest. So this is confusing in terms of like what you want to relate to. Like, who are you relating to? What are you relating to? What are you reflecting on? You're kind of like using your intuition. This is like Venus and Scorpio, right? So this is probably needing to detox from an experience that affected you emotionally, and you still might be holding on to some of those things because it's Venus, but it's Venus and Scorpio. You know what I mean? So you could be like, you could be experiencing displeasure because you are still relating to an experience that should be showing you some aspect of yourself that you didn't see before. So it should be transforming you. But if you stay within this energy and you keep trying to weigh out your feelings on how you feel about something, even though you already know how you feel about it, then you're just kind of like constantly letting that continue, right? You're letting that fester inside of you. And we know that Scorpio is talking about control. And when you control water and you don't give it a place to flow to, then it becomes contaminated, right? And these threes are saying, no, you need to have this creative energy cleansed, right? So it's kind of like, Venus is your creativity, and Scorpio is talking about also, emotions are your creativity. Your creativity are your emotions coming outward, right? And it's saying, don't let that stuff stay inside. Let it come outwardly, right? Let it be outwardly expressed. You can do it through your art. You can do it through like song, through design. You can do it through anything. You know what I mean? Creativity is like boundless, right? It could be anything. So, yes, if there is something that you just haven't decided on, because you might be, I see a lot of different colors in here, so your mood might be changing a lot. The sevens do relate to the Chariot, which is the number 7 major arcana card, and that is, confidence, right? It's also the ability to move forward, right? And this is saying move forward out of those old feelings that you just are still processing and trying to like relate to in a different way, but you're always going to relate to them in the same way. It's a fixed card. You're going to stay feeling the same way. So just kind of like release it and let it go. So the card that you have at the very top of the reading, which is like the energy that you need to move into, that we're hoping that you're going to move towards. Oh, wonderful. We already knew. I kind of forgot. I flipped this one over at the beginning. So this is the Council Chief, right? The 4, that's Aries, right? That's Mars, that's the Sun. It's also, security, it's stability, it's self-security, right? It's, also, just kind of like efficiency as well. You being your own boss, right? It's full of purpose, it's full of creative will, right? You have a lot of creative will here. You have a lot of energy to put towards what you would like to see manifest. You just have to let go of the old things that sort of got in the way of you manifesting something, because it's like if you want to create something new, then you have to take out the old shit that you're applying to your new shit, okay? Just remember that. Happy birthday, Virgo. And yes, if you'd like to book a reading with me, email providencetarotkendrick@gmail.com. I'm also Providence Tarot on Instagram and also YouTube, okay? If you'd like to follow me personally on IG, which is Instagram, My doctor didn't know what that was. Then follow NYC Kendrick. Okay, I'll leave all of the information in the description box. And I'll see you next time. I'll post the other reading that was kind of like a flop, but I don't want to delete it because there might be something for somebody.